Hey, welcome to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where we're going to break down the Saints' 26-24 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. This is another episode of the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee, coming to you from the mobile Oshner Andrews Sports Institute podcast studio. So if you have any healthcare needs, check out the Oshner Network. And if you need a new car, check out my guy Matt Bowers at one of his many locations throughout the Gulf Coast region. He'll get you the best care, the best prices, and he won't let you down at the end of the deal. He'll get it done. He'll get over the goal line. So make sure you go and check him out if you are in the market for a new car. There's a lot to talk about in this game. We're going to break it all down on this episode starting right now. Oshner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio. I'm Nick Underhill here with Brandon Thomas and Mike Triplett. They're tearing down the stadium here. We're just getting started on our show though. So we're gonna talk over the construction as we do every time. Hopefully there's no dumpsters shot behind us this week. What do you guys think about the game?
Man, let's get into the first topic presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Once again, second week in a row, the Saints blow a late lead, this time losing on a game-winning field goal losing 24-26 to the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Kind of, what do we think, man? What do we think about this second late loss?
I mean, there's so many thoughts, right? And go and read Nick's column on the website that really captured the mood in the locker room. Look, we stood here on this field before the game, and I thought it was going to be really, really hard for the Saints to win. I didn't think they'd be able to move the ball. I think I picked them to score like 13 or 16 points. Maybe Clint Kubiak can find a way to manage with all these other offensive linemen. And they were lights out on offense. And Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara were questionable, and they played two of the best games we've ever seen those two guys play. Yeah. And they did it in the first quarter from the beginning, and they did it in the fourth quarter at the end when they were trailing, and they come from behind to take the lead in the fourth quarter. But all anyone wanted to talk about, think about, feel in the locker room was, I'm tired of losing the close ones. You got to find a way to win these ones. And it's hard not to feel that way after boom, Philly, boom, Atlanta. So there were a lot of good things today, but it all gets outweighed when you can't close the deal.
It's a problem. I mean, it's a problem. It's not good. I mean, you've lost 2 games you should have won. And I think winning these games, either one of the two kind of changes the feel of things. I honestly have never felt more like they were better than a team they lost to than I did today. It felt like they were the better team the whole game. You said the offense was lights out. I thought the defense was lights out except for Paulson Adebo. I mean, they didn't give up a touchdown the whole entire game. I mean, they held their own. They made Kirk Cousins look bad. Like, they were in control, it felt like, except for the plays where they weren't in control. Like, Rashid Shaheed fielding that punt is crazy. That's an all-pro returner, too. Like, that's not a coaching issue. That's a guy just making a mistake in kind of an unbelievable one. But it just kind of feels like that stuff's kind of happening to him right now. And, I mean, I can't lie. I'm a little bit worried about it. I'm a little bit worried about what's in the DNA. I don't know how you couldn't be. They should have beat Philly. They should have beat Atlanta. They gave both games away. Yeah. I don't really understand how or why or what's happening, but it's something that's a little bit troubling. Like, you know, you need the blood panel at this point to see if your levels are at the right place. Like, it's not a good place to be right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and make excuses. This is the first time they felt like those kind of Philly, the 65-yard touchdowns. I wrote about it. It was 3 plays, 61-yard touchdown, getting stopped on 4th and 1 in some big moments. But this was the first self-destruction game of the season. This was the first down penalties. You mentioned, I think there were 4 of them. There was a lot of 1st and 15, 2nd and 20. There was Derek Carr throwing, just ridiculous pass that he never should have. It turns into a pick 6. This was the first self-destruction game of the season with just stupid stuff. And was that the weight of the game?
I'd argue a safety coming down and crashing into a guy to give him a 65-yard release is a self-destruction. I mean, you shot yourself on that one.
Yeah, true. But you know what I mean? The sloppy stuff, the like fumbles and false starts and like all that kind of stuff. Like we hadn't really seen that before, so I don't know if it's an epidemic, but I don't know if it's because now they're tight. And they didn't have to face that. And they were on easy street the first 2 weeks. So is this how they're going to play when they're tight? I don't know.
I would guess some of that stuff is due to having like a different center and there's a different cadence and you're hearing things, a little bit, balls coming out at a different time. Like I would assume some of that stuff's like a little bit, you start messing with that operation on the snap. Like people are probably timing stuff a little bit differently. Maybe it's not going when it would go like Derek gets it off right on this syllable. Like maybe now Lemieux's kind of doing a little bit different. I'm not worried about that stuff. I'm worried specifically about you're at the end of the game, you got the lead, and you can't close it. It happened 2 weeks in a row. And it's a real thing to me. It's a real thing to me. You have to show you can do that. There was like a stat, 1-8 in those things. Tyrann Mathieu talked about it in the locker room about it being a problem for 3 years in a row now. They haven't been able to figure out how to close these games. They're losing them when they, shouldn't be. It's something that they need to figure out if they want to be a good football team. And you do it 2 weeks in a row. I mean, fair or not, you've done it in every situation you've been in the season. The season's now 25% of the way over. So, I mean, it's a small sample league regardless. So everything happens in small doses, especially when you're talking situationally. So whatever it is, you got to figure it out, and you got to build that belief that when you're in those situations, you're going to be able to do it. And you do it twice, and now people are going to go out there, and you get in the next time, what happens? You got to make sure that this is not something that becomes something that poisons your team.
And you had mentioned the Shaheed play, which is why I was trying to say, is there something game-wide that was a trend?
I take that outside. To me, that's extremely isolated. That's one of your best players on the team, one of the best at that job specifically. He just did something stupid. Everybody in every job does something stupid. Like, the greatest doctor in the world, like, he's going to go into surgery. There's one that he's botched. You know what I mean? Like,
it happens. Like, everybody has a bad day. Like, sometimes you got to go back in. So I'm not worried about that. Like, I'm worried about this thing at the end of the game. Like, I don't know. It might be a stupid thing to be worked up about, but it's hard to overlook. It happened. Like,
They're worried about it. They're worried about it.
You should have won 2. You should have won 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a cancer, but like, it's opening up. You open up WebMD and you're like, oh shit. Like, what is this? Oh, I better call my doctor. Like,
These are the symptoms.
It doesn't mean you have cancer, but you better make sure you don't. Like, this is something that you need to look under the hood for.
Yeah, and reinforcing both y'all points, in my mind, this almost should be a 4-0 team. And the reason why I say almost is because they've done things to put themselves, like both of you said, they've done things to put themselves out of that. Last week, it was them running into each other in the back, you know what I mean? And then this game is, like you said, you could take out the punt, but it's the PI at the end. It's Oliudo. I mean, they scored on the play, but the miscommunication at certain points in the game, it's getting all of those penalties before that game, could have been the game-winning drive. So it's just things that are self-destructive that, hey man, you got to figure out.
Yeah, they have to. Absolutely. It's a little worrisome, and I think it's more frustrating this year than it was other years because it really feels like, man, they could be a good team.
Yeah.
Like, there was a moment in that game, like, it starts going, you're like, man, like, is this really actually a good offense? Like, is this really a good team? And then nope, they decided not to be, and it's just, you don't have to do that. I think today is one of the more frustrating losses. I've like watching it, just kind of like just being irritated. Like, this is all so avoidable. Like, this did not have to play out like that.
Yeah.
And I really, truly mean it. And, I know everybody's probably pissed off right now, and it's like hard to see it, and they're in their emotions or whatever. But like, I really, truly believe that they were a much better team than the Falcons today.
Total first down, Saints 25, Falcons 14. They were. I mean, they just they gave up. They made the biggest mistakes.
They kept themselves up to. In fairness to the Falcons on that stat, there were 2 drives they didn't have to go on the field for to earn any first off. The Saints got to keep it rolling. So, but it really felt like they were the better team today, and they just dropped the ball, man.
Let's get into our next segment presented by Urban South. Let's go through some hot takes. Let's see if they're overreactions or if they're legitimate. The first hot take: the Saints' first 2 wins were smoke and mirrors.
It's fair to wonder, but I'm going to say no based on today because I think we're talking about the offense, and I think that is one thing you can genuinely feel good about today is, all right, like I almost think if you're going to put Kubiak's resume out there, this has a candidate to be on there as much as either of the first 2 games. I mean, we spent the whole week being like, who's starting at guard? Who's starting at center? Who's starting at the other guard? Who's hurt? And he comes out and he scores on the first 2 touchdowns. He comes out and they score on 3 of the 4 drives in the second half. And when they were the team that was down and had to come back, we're talking about what kind of mettle do they have against adversity. This team went down all the way to the 7-yard line, screwed that drive up, but then got the ball back and went all the way down and scored a touchdown. They showed mettle through adversity. What this offense did today was almost as impressive to me as what they did in the first 2 weeks. So from that standpoint, it wasn't smoke and mirrors. They got a real coach. They got a real plan now. They're not perfect, though.
Smoke and mirrors from the sense that like they aren't going to just dominate everybody, but for a minute, it felt like they were about to start doing it today. Like it did. Like it was just like they started rolling. I was like, man, they're going to score a ton of points again. Yeah. So no, I don't think it's complete smoke and mirrors. I think the perception is probably overblown. Like if the wording here was like it was a perception of the Saints smoke and mirrors or whatever. Yeah, a little bit.
Fair.
But I think they can legitimately be a good football team if they just stop doing really stupid things. And I don't know how you get on the other side of that. There was some stuff in the first couple games too that was like you overlook it. You overlook it a little bit. There was some iffy stuff here and there. But yeah, I don't. Some part of it overreaction. The reaction to it was an overreaction. But like no, I think they have a good offense. I really do. Yeah. The only thing I was thinking today is like, man, I wish they had more good players. Like I really do. I wish there was like
still always Alvin and Olave.
I wish it was a settled offensive line. I think taking Taysom out of there ends up being a big deal. I don't think they have enough when Taysom's not on the field. I think they need another receiver. I just wish they were coaching more talent overall because man, like they really like they make Derek Carr looks good operating this offense every single week. He threw that pick 6, really bad play. I thought he played pretty good otherwise. I thought he made enough throws to win. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say legitimate, more legitimate than overreaction.
Next up, sticking with you, Nick. The team doesn't know how to win.
I think that's legit. Is it? learning how to win is something they talk about every single season. It's something every single team talks about. You have to learn how to win these close games. I think when you have a young team, learning how to win ends up becoming a thing. I think there's a lot of young players on this team in key spots. They haven't learned how to win over the last couple of years. Like, they haven't figured out how to close out these games. I think you have to go in there and have the confidence and just kind of know that, everything's going to work when you go out there. I think that was part of the magic of the Patriots. I think it's part of the magic of the Chiefs right now. Every single time they go out there in one of those tight situations, they're going to find a way to win. And if they don't find a way to win, the officials are going to find a way for them to win. So they'll get it done no matter what. But no, like, all jokes aside, like, I really do think that's a thing. And it just, it's the Sean Payton saying confidence comes from demonstrated ability. I don't think they've demonstrated enough ability in those situations to really feel it. And then at a certain point, you probably get tight. And it's like, nope, don't want to let this happen again. So I think they got to figure it out.
It's not a hot take. That is not a hot take that they don't know how to win. Like I said, that's what they're saying in the locker room. That's what Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave and Tyrann Mathieu are saying in the locker room. So in no way, shape, or form am I going to say that's a hot take. The only thing I will say is this is a slightly weird game to be having this discussion in an isolated scenario, because halfway through the third quarter of this game, they were down 20-14. Rashid Shaheed had fumbled. Derek Carr had thrown the pick six. And they took that 20-14 deficit on the road in Atlanta, and they turned it into a lead with a minute left. So for 20 minutes, they handled adversity really impressively. They got defensive stops. They got offensive scores. And they made one bad play, Paulson Adebo's pass interference. Actually, the rest of that drive was incomplete, false start. Like the only bad thing they did in the final 20 minutes, basically, was Paulson Adebo's pass interference. Yeah. So to say that means a team doesn't know how to win, that's a little tough.
But it's back-to-back weeks.
But last week they gave up a 65-yard touchdown. They gave up a 61-yard play. They threw an interception. They really screwed up the fourth quarter. So, fair point. But in this game, I actually liked what I saw from this team for 20 straight minutes until that Adebo play.
So did I. I liked most of what I saw in the Philly game as far as their ability to stay
not
in
the fourth quarter,
but to stay in it, to be in a rock fight, to keep doing what you had to do to put yourself in a position to win. I liked it until there was one guy that did not do his thing. Yeah. And so everybody has to do their job. That's the thing. Like, he didn't do his job. Jordan Howden didn't do his job. Yeah. So like, it is one play, one guy. Every single time a play breaks down, it's one guy. It's not usually like seven guys screwed up on this. It's usually, he got out of his gap. He didn't do this. He rushed to wide, gave the quarterback. Like, it's all.
But last week it was getting stuffed on 4th and 1, giving up a 65-yard touchdown, giving up a 61-yard play.
I agree, though. But
throwing a pick. This game, they were great in the fourth quarter. So that wasn't a team that lost its confidence.
I don't disagree, but on the finding a way to win, it's always one drive. Yeah. It's one drive. Everything happens, and then you get in a position to win, and can you win? And they aren't doing that.
Fair. But I did like what we saw from this team. Down by 6 with the game on the line.
I thought they were the better
more
team.
Than years past.
I thought they were the better team. They can, like, if you want to talk last week versus this week, like, last week I didn't feel like they were the better team, but I felt like they had themselves in a position to win and they couldn't close it. This week I felt like I feel like this is a travesty losing this game. Like, I feel like this is a travesty losing it. The last one is like, all right, they were in it and they lost. Like, okay, this feels like, geez, man, like, you are way better than this. Like, this one feels like almost inexcusable.
That's fair.
Next hot take, sticking with Paulson Adebo. Is he a problem? Is Paulson Adebo a problem?
Yeah. I mean, you have to say yeah. You have to say yeah. Problem? What do you mean by that? Does he need to be benched? Not necessarily. But Nick said there were some things that came up in the first 2 weeks that bothered you. You know what the worst play they made in the first 2 weeks was? Paulson Adebo getting burned on a 61-yard touchdown by CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
This is happening too much to him, and teams are attacking him. D.A. even said that. He said that's where the team wanted to go. The two biggest plays in this game were deep balls that they went directly at Adebo. Nobody was targeting Marshawn. Alante was holding down the fort. Adebo's become the guy teams are targeting, and he's more like 50-50 now. He's led the team in penalties every year he's been here. He's now led the team in interceptions, tied for the lead 2 years in a row. There's some boomer bust to it. He did have some nice pass breakups in this game, but that's happening. That is not isolated. That is happening almost weekly.
I don't disbelieve that he could get on a hot streak, but I've never felt great. We talked about it before the season. In the season, I don't feel like he's somebody that I would invest in long term. And I'm not basing this on one play, 4 games, nothing. Like, that's just kind of, I've never felt like he was the greatest fit for the scheme. I felt like they got a good value on him in the draft. They drafted him. They put him in. I feel like he's okay at what he does. I will say, to his credit, every time he makes a bad play, and, you know, I'll text someone and be like, there he goes again. And then, like, the next play he gets a pick. Like, that happens. That's happened, like, twice this season, I think. So, like, he has a penchant for making plays, and I think that's appreciated, but I do not trust him. And I almost, like, he kind of got on that hot streak last year, but then now I feel like you're seeing some of the similar warts come back out to where it's like, okay, he's good. Penalty.
3 today.
Yeah.
3 PIs today.
And it keeps happening, and that's kind of on his card. Like, the difference between him and Alante, like, Alante had mistakes, and it seems like he's putting them behind him, and, like, he feels steady and safe and consistent. Adebo, like, you feel like you're white knuckling it, and I don't trust him in those situations. So I think it's a problem.
Sticking with you, Nick, the coaching staff blew these last 2 games.
It's hard to say, but like I said, I mean, I think there's something weird going on here at the end of these games, and I don't know if it's players, I don't know if it's preparing for the situations, I don't know what it is. I think it's an overreaction to, like, point at any coach at this point, but if it keeps going, like, at some point, like I said, like, there's symptoms here, and if you can't cure it, I'm worried about it. I feel better about this team overall, like, as a whole. I feel like they should be a more confident team based on everything that's happening on both sides. What's weird to me, though, is that you have this awesome defense, and every year they are an awesome defense, and every time they're in one of these situations, and I'm going back years on this now. Like, I'm not even talking about this year, last year. I'm talking every time they're in one of these situations, like, and it might be residual from the Minnesota game or whatever, but, like, there's a lack of, like, feeling of, like, all right, they got this. Like, you should feel like how you feel watching this defense. They go on the field in one of these situations. You should feel like, oh, man, they gave Mahomes 48 seconds. Like, that's how you should feel at one of these games. Just like, they're gonna lock it down. You should want to put it in their hands. And right now, I don't feel that about them. And I don't know what you got to do to get to it. I don't know that it's a DA thing. Like, Paulson Adebo just has to not get PI. Like, it's hard for me to point at any of the coaches on this stuff. So I'm going to say that's an overreaction. But I don't think believing that there is an issue is an overreaction. And I don't know what the issue is, and I don't know how to solve it. And I don't. That's beyond my comprehension right now. I don't fully understand it, and I'm comfortable saying I don't understand why that's happening and why it's happened 2 weeks in a row. Like, they knew Jordan Howden wasn't, a great player. He ends up doing that. Like, he's not playing for a reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You take these guys off the field that are making these mistakes. I don't know how you solve it. It's something I'm interested in figuring out what the solution is, though.
All of that's fair. Like I said, I just want to mark it. Like, I was, all of these things that we have had issues with, I just liked the way they were playing in the last 20 minutes so much. I thought they were overcoming it until they didn't. But the only thing I'm going to disagree with, I don't think they're an awesome defense anymore. I think they're a very good defense. The one thing they have not had in 2 years is a pass rush. And it was the worst part of the game today. And it's part of the reason why I didn't trust them. Kirk Cousins did not play well. Kirk Cousins was never under any duress today. Their secondary was covering pretty well on some things where he couldn't get the ball. This pass rush has disappeared, and it should have showed up today, and it didn't. And that was a problem last year. I mean, when they were in that midseason rut last year, the defense was letting them down. I think it's been since DA's last year as defensive coordinator, the season that got him hired as the head coach. I think their defense has been more like above average than awesome in the last few years.
That's fair, but they don't give up any points.
Yeah. They're very bend but don't break, but I don't trust a bend but don't break defense on when 30 yards will get you in field goal range.
That's, again, all fair. Like, I think the pass rush is terrible right now. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I think it's terrible right now. They don't, like, okay, what was it, 26 points, but 14's on the offense, so 12. Like, they don't give up. True. They don't give up anything at all. And it's mind-boggling that the numbers are what they are. Like, I don't know. Like, in a lot of situations, having a guy kick a 58-yarder at the end of the game isn't the worst outcome in the world. Yeah. Like, you kind of did your job there outside of Adebo, and, like, that's kind of giving yourself your best shot after that penalty. Like, they didn't give anything up after that. Like, so I don't necessarily blame the coach. Like, I think the players screwed up there. So I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, it's real. I'm just so troubled by the fact that they can't close out these games.
Real quick, what's your take? Because this has been a huge talking point. I know we talked about it, but for on the air. What's your take on defensive scheme approach each of the last 2 weeks? Two separate opinions. What do you do? They get the ball in the 30, as we know with Young Ku's leg. 30 yards wins the Falcons the game or gives them a field goal attempt. How are you supposed to play defense in that situation? Are you okay with the defense they chose to play in this game? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I mean,
even though it allowed a faster receiver like Darnell Mooney to get behind Paulson Adebo.
I'm gonna have to see the whole field view of it, but like that the argument that I was seeing on Twitter is like basically they wanted them to play like a soft zone there or something, and like the whole idea is that you're trying to keep a guy that has an incredibly big leg out of field goal range.
Yeah.
So
and only 30 yards is all it took.
Like if you're playing, you're trying to make it so they don't get a first down.
Yeah.
Like you really are. The weirdest thing about this game is that if Alvin had gotten stuffed on third down and they end up having to run another play to score, like that would have been the best possible outcome the whole entire game, and they win the game if that happens. Like they got stuffed on the first two. Too bad they didn't try to sneak with Derek one more time and it didn't work, and then they went to Alvin on fourth down. Like that would have won them the game if they had failed on third down. Obviously you can't try to fail on third down because if you botch a snap or something, you're out of plays on fourth down. So you can't really try to eat the clock on third down. But like if it had just
that would have scared the crap. Yeah.
If it just happened, like maybe it works out better than that. I'm fine with the defense. So like we'll get the better look, but in hindsight, like maybe against the Eagles, you play softer there and then try to lock down in the red zone and you rely on that. In this situation, though, like you don't want to give up an inch. Like any inch puts them closer to field goal range. So I'm fine with what they did there. That's So if you want to talk about like the coaching and the scheme, like no, I'm totally fine with what they did in this game.
Final hot take going to you, Mike. This will be the same team as last year.
I really don't think so. I really don't.
Record-wise.
Record-wise?
Like Kevin had a tweet that said basically like it's going to be just a different route to the same result.
Let me answer the question you asked me first while I process part two. I have said this repeatedly. I thought last year was the same as the year before, and I thought that was the same as Sean Payton's last year. I thought the last 3 years were Groundhog Day. To a wide extent. They had a better record last year. I think they had an easier schedule last year. I think this team's different. I think this team can score. I think this team has answers. I think this team has plans. If they do lose games, they'll be more exciting. Yeah. They'll screw up and then they'll come back and take leads. This team, the previous teams are never coming back from 20 to 14. They just aren't. It was over. Houston last year, they were down 20 or 13, and the game was over. It's like, well, we can't come back from that. The Andy Dalton years, they couldn't come back from down 7. I think this team can. I actually have more faith in this team than I have since 2020. Will the record be the same? It's 2-2 now. They've got a couple tough ones. I mean, I bumped my record prediction up to 10-6 a couple weeks ago. If they're going to go through this gamut and not steal a win anywhere, they should have stolen one of these. I might be back to 9-8. Yeah.
I was at 10 before. I'm at 10 now. I'm at 10 the whole way. Like I think they still found a way to get there. I mean, I think a lot of it's overreaction right now. We'll see where it goes from here. I'm not changing anything after this, but I am. They lost 2 games in a row. Like it's hard not to be discouraged. It's hard not to feel like they're in the same place as last year. I still think they can be a good team. I think they just got to figure out how to win these close games. That's really it.
This game in its own is not like they exceeded my expectations in this game. This game in its own is not super discouraging to me. Last week was.
Interesting.
Let's go to our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Is it time to be worried about the pass rush? Mike, you talked about it a little bit in the hot take segment.
No, it's not time to be worried about the pass rush. It's been time to be worried about the pass rush for about 2.5 years now. And they haven't fixed it.
Someone in the Martin submission, we didn't pick it as the question because we're kind of talking about it now, but he asked the question, what happened to the dominant pass rush that was there in training camp? Well, yeah, we know now that the offensive line was really bad. Like they weren't scheming anything up. Everyone's blocking everything. Like just kind of honestly, they were getting beat on the edges. That stuff made everyone look better. I noticed Chase Young a bunch today. I thought he was kind of active in this one, but overall, yeah, the pass rush is it's non-existent. It's not consistent enough. It's not affecting enough. There was one play where Granderson got in there and he almost set up Jordan Howden for an interception. You need more of that. Like you need more of that. But I don't think I don't think that aspect's gonna get drastically better. I think it just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Chase Young would make a bigger difference on his own or being disruptive enough to move traffic over. This one was super disheartening because obviously their pass rush was fine in the first 2 weeks when they were just dominating. It wasn't great, but it wasn't a worry spot because they were up by so much. Last week there was the Jalen Hurts factor. They were being cautious against him and Saquon Barkley. There was no excuse for them not to be getting because Cousins stood back there for a long time today. I don't know what his time to throw was, but it felt like he felt completely comfortable all day, and when he held it for a long time, those guys just were not winning their individual matchups today.
Tip of that though, to Peyton Turner got a strip sack.
Yeah.
That was a good play. That when they didn't recover it, that was kind of when I thought they were going to lose. That's the kind of play you have to get in a game like this to kind of turn the tides. And that was when I felt like the game turned fully to Atlanta's side.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with kickoff combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Comes with fried shrimp and your choice of soft-shell crab traditional or our famous thin-fried catfish, all served with garlic herb fries, starting at only $10.99. Only at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Saints score! Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
All right, guys, it's the best time of year. Football's back. We're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and the glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. This is where your inner GM comes alive. Setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone ridicules in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. Let's be honest, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. This is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ on and off the field. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code New Orleans, that's one word, for 20% off and free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Here at the Queen Casino, indulgence knows no bounds. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary journey. Start your day at Capital Coffee. Craving something different? Three Walks Noodle Bar offers a tantalizing selection of Asian delights. At 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, savor American cuisine with a twist. Or ascend to the loft for an elevated experience. Enjoy artesian grazing boards and exquisite craft cocktails. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. The player of the game 2 weeks in a row, Chris Olave.
2 weeks in a row. I didn't know we gave it. I forgot.
Is that true?
Yeah, he deserved it though, man. He played through that injury. He looked really good. He made big time plays. He was clutch. They got one taken away. There was like a huge play in there at one point that would have been good on his resume. I mean, the guy, you know, he was hurting. He was limping heavily after the game. I mean, he went through a lot to get there. So yeah, I think he definitely deserved it, and I think he's taken his game up a level, no doubt about it.
Look, the only argument here is that it could have been Alvin Kamara. They were both in the same boat. Two guys that were questionable with injuries, fought through it, and just, man, we thought, would they be limited? Apparently not. So Olave was 8 of 10. One was batted, and the other one was the one that he caught anyway, diving out of bounds, and he just couldn't get his feet in bounds because it sailed a little too far. Man, was he clutch today, 8 for 87. Alvin ended up with 26 touches when I would have taken the under on 18 because I thought they were going to be cautious with his ribs. And
well, Taysom got hurt, so that should have went off the board after Taysom.
The thing is, you're worried, and so am I, that they don't have enough other guys to go to. Although Rashica, he did have 8 catches for 83 yards today. He was used a little bit more all over the field, and that was good to see. But, I mean, how can you resist the temptation to just keep going to Olave and keep going to Kamara when they're so clutch? And Derek Carr was talking about Olave after the game, saying the trust factor's through the roof right now. He said on 2 of those, he threw to a spot, confident Olave would see the same thing he did, and Olave saw the same thing he did and got to the ball there.
Yeah. The only thing holding Chris back right now is, like, this isn't really a high-volume passing offense, but, like, he's been on fire since week 1. Looks really good. I don't, you know, I think, like I said a second ago, like, I really think he's taking this game up a level.
Right, and then, like, in those national conversations, he might be forgotten about because he doesn't have the touchdowns to kind of match the performances that he's having, but he's playing lights out. And then he did it injured. Yeah,
I mean, that is something he needs to start. He needs to start scoring a little more. Like, he needs to get 5 every year. Like, that's kind of the thing that kind of puts you in that level. But I mean, that's you know, scheme dependent and all that stuff too.
Yeah. Now it's time for the next segment presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. It's a game day show, so you know we're gonna go 3 up, 3 down. A little bit easier to pick the downs today. Let's start off with you, Nick.
We're starting with the
We're starting
ups?
with yeah, we can start with the ups.
I mean, obviously Olave's one. Obviously Alvin's one. I don't think we need to belabor that point. I'll throw I'm gonna start with Marshawn Lattimore. I thought Marshawn had a lockdown game today. Didn't see a whole lot from anybody he was covering. I'd be kind of surprised if he gave up a reception this whole game. Get a closer look at it tomorrow when we rewatch it. I thought he was lights out, and really that's 2 weeks in a row that I thought he's looked really good. I think he's playing good football right now.
Is Kubiak allowed? Are we allowed to go coaches here?
Yeah. I've done it. That precedent's been set.
Yeah, look, like I made this point earlier, but I wanted to see what he had in store when it felt like, how's he going to do it with what's at his disposal with this offensive line? And like I said, I don't think I can say I was more impressed than I was in either the Carolina or Dallas game, but just as impressed when last week Vic Fangio exposed him. Now the blueprint is out there, and now he doesn't have Eric McCoy or Cesar Ruiz. Yeah. What's he going to do? And Alvin's banged up and limited, and Taysom gets pulled from the game halfway through. The fact that he had answers for all that stuff, like in Click Kubiak, I trust, man.
My bet had to be the linebacker position. Marco Jackson and P. Werner. You didn't hear really anything about the running backs. It's Tyler Algier. He went off for a little bit, but it wasn't even anything serious because you look back at it, he only had 60 yards. So I think with DeMario being out and then Willie Gay dropping out the linebacker depth and being able to go in there, not losing any communication and just, not having any big plays on him, it has to put the linebacker position up for me.
Yeah, Algier did almost all his damage on that one drive, and it was a bad drive for the Saints. Like, it was late third, early fourth, and all of a sudden Algier averaged 7.5 yards a carry. It makes you wonder why they don't use him more. But Bijan Robinson was just 7 for 28 in this game, and I thought he was the big, bad, scary guy on this team. And
I like how Algier runs too. Like he's tough. I like him. I like the way he plays the game. My next one, I'm going. I mentioned him a minute ago. I'm going Peyton Turner. I thought he had a pretty good game. He made that play. I think he was one of the more active guys. Didn't play a ton of snaps, but when he was out there, he made an impact.
You got Mike.
So did we? Olave and Kamara were both the free spaces.
Yeah,
we gave them both nothing. You go.
All right. Well,
I got one. I got one. Blake Groupie.
Okay.
He was clutch. You couldn't miss a kick in this game. He had the 43-yarder, the extra point that was a game-winning extra point. Like, we wonder if you're gonna have faith in him after he banked one in last time, and then he was on ice for about 6 straight quarters, and he made the ones he had to make.
I'm going Taysom Hill. Before he got hurt,
Good one.
He couldn't stop him. You know what I mean? He was in there. He was going in there. That line was looking pretty good. So yeah, I'm going with Taysom Hill.
Go to the downs.
Well, we have to put some form of offensive lineman in the ups, but I'm reserving that for Nick's film study. Somebody must have been playing well up there among the replacements.
So he was getting rid of the ball really fast. I thought the interior was maybe a little spotty. I think they schemed around it. So I'm
curious to see when
we can put him in the up in the fact that it wasn't a disaster. And I mean, I don't know what the standard is here. Like, it wasn't anything that really hurt their ability to operate. They still ran the ball pretty well. But I felt like I saw a decent amount of stuff coming through the middle.
Sure,
in
probably
the pass rush.
Probably.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Yeah. So I'm gonna
reserve judgment.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think they did okay. I think they deserve like a little, but I'm not throwing a bouquet at them. Yeah.
Let's go to the downs.
I'm gonna start with Paulson Adebo.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean he made the play that turned the game. He made another pass interference that was costly. He made another pass interference that was costly. It felt like they got all their yards thrown at him. I didn't think it was a good game for him.
Totally fair. I mean, we just talked at length about the pass rush, and I'm lumping them all in together, but that's the one for me. Peyton Turner made that one play. The rest of the game, that was, I think that was the Saints' inability to take control of this game, was they weren't able to make that play up front and pressure them into any mistakes.
It's a career outlier, but it still was 7 points for the Falcons. So I'll have to put Rashid Shaheed on this spot.
Yeah.
Plus, later in the game, he had a legal motion penalty?
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad.
Totally fair. I didn't think Jordan Howden played great. I kind of felt like he was a little bit iffy overall. Just saw a couple things in coverage that didn't seem great. Didn't love the game for him. He had an opportunity to get a pick. I'm not holding that against him, but I just thought overall it wasn't. It just it was a reminder once Tyron went out, like, of why they they need him out there and why he's so important.
Juwan Johnson's next for me, and unfortunately he's becoming a mainstay in this column. This was a game where they needed other guys to step up, and not only did they need other guys to step up, they went to him on several occasions. Only 3 targets. I feel like was one of them on a nullified play. I feel like there's another one, but his inability to know where he was on the field and stay in bounds on that one, didn't really do anything with the ball on the 2 that he did catch. And then was it pass protection miscue that we saw, or
on the pick 6 he missed a block.
False start.
He missed a block on the pick 6.
It looked like he was supposed to block the guy that got loose, and then he's right there in the path, and then Carr goes to throw it and has to hitch, and then Carr's got to dirt that at that point, but it wasn't. It looked like we'll get a better look tomorrow on the review, but it looked like his hands were really dirty on that play.
And look, he's far down this list because of the circumstances. Losing 2 of the pillars of the offensive line, losing Taysom Hill, just having things being pretty much sporadic for the whole week. But this is Derek Carr's second time throwing a pick 6 in Atlanta, so he'll have to go on the list for me.
I can't put him on my list.
Okay.
I can't. I mean, I know he had the pick 6, but I thought he played a good game. I really do. Maybe we're giving him pass. Maybe I'm giving him passes. The pick last week, the pick this week. it's a fair point. You gave 7 points the other way. They lose by that margin. Absolutely, you got to dirt it, but I don't know. I can't get there with it. I think he's having a good season. I really do.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he was the better. We said the battle of the whatever the tier of quarterbacks that Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins are probably on the Mount Rushmore of. And he definitely outplayed Cousins in this game. The only other play that I thought was pretty.
He beat Cousins by a yard too. He won the race.
238. I feel like he missed on what should have been a touchdown to Olave on that one that sailed out of bounds.
He was on
probably pressured
when he was on the
move. Yeah. But it was a missed opportunity, I guess. He was a lot of other ones that he missed and a lot of other ones that he hit today. He had a lot of pressure in his face today, no doubt about it. He was
Right.
getting rid of the ball quick.
And me putting him on there was just to be consistent and to be fair because
It's a fair thing. It's not anybody. I can't argue with it.
I got you.
I can't. He's not on my ledger. He's not on my.
For sure. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel-select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's question is, do you think they will change the game plan with the return of Kendre Miller, or will he get touches to get the load off of Alvin?
Well, I think getting him back is incredibly important. You see what they can do when they have multiple running options in the backfield. That fourth down is an example of it. And I don't know. You want to talk about like what happens if Taysom misses? Like I think one of the biggest issues for this team right now is how available is Taysom Hill going to be? And it feels like if you get 6 consecutive quarters out of him at this point in the role that he's in, like that kind of feels like a win. I feel like he's probably going to be battling injuries all season long. He's an older player. You sit up there and you watch this and you just think like, man, too bad he wasn't doing this stuff 4 or 5 years ago when he was a little bit younger, could handle it a little bit better. But he's been an injury-prone guy going back to his college career. So how do you get more into the offense? I think Kendre is the answer to that question. And obviously he can't do everything Taysom does, but he can do some of that stuff. I think he gives you formational flexibility. He allows you to kind of have maybe 2 explosive players out of the backfield with him and Alvin. He's obviously a more talented player than Jamal Williams. So I think you can kind of lean into that and give yourself just more. And for a team that wants to be creative in the running game, more is obviously better. So, I think some stuff does change with him in there. There's some things that you want to do to accentuate his abilities and maybe create that 2-headed monster and make the defense guess on who's getting the ball. Like, you can do some different stuff. You could line, Kendre up in the backfield, flex Alvin out, do the same thing vice versa. I think there's just a lot of stuff you can do. So I think if he's available and he has a grasp on what they're doing, I think obviously things are going to change a little bit and for the better.
And if 3 up and 3 down had gone one more round, I might have put Jamal Williams in my down for. We kept saying he needs to show something before Kendre Miller comes and eats into his playing time. 3 carries for 11 yards, 2 catches for 8 yards. He hasn't jumped off the page and done anything to keep him ahead of Kendre Miller.
That'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for sticking in here. If you're not subscribed, you might as well subscribe because we're breaking down everything that happened during the game, what's going to happen in the next game, and everything in between. We appreciate y'all for sticking around. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.